welcome to the Mediabox, where I'm joined by the newly elected PACE President, Theodoros Rousopoulos. Thanks very much for joining us and congratulations. You talked a lot in your speech about history, Magna Carta, the Agora. What does this assembly mean to you in 2024?
First of all, we have the 75th anniversary, and it means a lot because we have to follow all these principles that our predecessors, those who founded this organization, put in a paper. But it's not just a paper, as I mentioned. It's not the bureaucratic work some people believe that we are doing here. We have a lot, and overall, the most important is that we have to fulfill what they had in their minds: peace, stability, human rights, democracy, rule of law. This is not easy, and sometimes it sounds like it is is said to be said. I'm not saying it just to say it. I'm a historian, actually, and I have read a lot of history, and I know that Europe produced, to use an expression of Winston Churchill, whom I mentioned earlier. He had said this about the Balkans, but I believe it is about Europe. Sometimes Europe produces more history than the one that can consume. So what we intend and what I intend to do is to follow the steps of these predecessors, which is a very heavy duty. I'll try to do my best.
You talked about raising the profile of the Assembly at a time when human rights are being uniquely challenged. How do you plan to do that?
I know that being very close to the media, to the journalists, and telling them, giving them information, because sometimes politicians believe that they don't have to distribute information and they expect from the media or the journalists to find them out. First of all, I think that, of course, we have open discussions. I think that we have to explain more about these reports. The second step is that we have to follow the younger generations. I mean, the younger generation is using social media. We have to be present in social media. It is not only the classical media. Me, as a journalist many years ago, I worked in the classical media, newspapers, radio, or TV. But now I know that we have to go closely to this generation. And I use one example. It is from Estonia, back some 10 years ago, when they decided to ask the younger generation, and in general the population, the voters, to vote via internet. Then we saw that more than 70 or 80% of the younger generation participated. So participating means knowing better what is happening. So if we can manage to make our job more visible, then I think that we will have succeeded in a step very important for the Council of Europe.
That's about involvement and the Assembly's profile. What about the work of this organization? What will be your priorities in the next year or so?
Of course, I have, and I want to work together with all the institutions within this institution. And talking to the Secretary General, the ministers, and the Assembly. And I am now on the procedure to learn more, because I'm not a very young member of this council. I'm a 5-year-old member, but it is never enough, because it's totally different to be a member of the Assembly, or, as I had the honor to be for 2 years, for 2 terms, the chair of the Migration Committee, and totally different to be chairing the whole Assembly. So I will first listen, because I believe that, and this is an expression that I use in Greek, you have to have your ears open so you can see better. And I'll try to do that.
And you described your number one priority as Ukraine.
Yes, Ukraine is number one priority. Not just to be said that Ukraine must be there. This is, as I told some 2 years ago, and I told that to Maria Mezentseva and other friends from Ukraine, and I repeated it in the last discussion we had in the Presidential Committee in Paris, that you have 4 stages when a war is breaking up. This was an invasion, an unacceptable invasion, a cruel invasion. The first step is that everybody is shocked. The second stage is that we are angry and we try to react. The third, and this is the most dangerous, is that people are getting used to that. And the fourth is nobody is interested. So we have to step back and put in the agenda as a major issue what is happening in Ukraine, what is happening with the children who are missing, what is happening when violations are taking place, like the one that Mr. Putin decided to put on the geographical and geopolitical table. this is the most important, not only because we believe in that, but because this is the role model of how this organization should function.
Theodoros Rousopoulos, thanks for speaking to us.
Thank you for receiving me.